Hello, my name is Veronica and welcome into the Learning Lab. And in today's lab I'd like to continue with flower shaping of the small and large Sweet Peony set from Heartfelt Creations. Come on in and let's get started. In a previous video I showed how to cut out these lovely shapes using my brother's Scan and Cut. Now the one method that I decided on as far as using these flowers was to cut them all out in white. Use my template that I cut out, put them inside the MISTI, stamp them whatever color I want, and this affords me various opportunities on how to use them. You can always use pastel cardstock, use a darker color ink, and stamp them out, and that would work just as well. So I don't want to keep you waiting any longer. These are some samples I made, but we're going to get to today's flower. And this one involves only 2 pieces of card, or 2 of the cutout flowers. I like it because it's a nice little bud that you can make it as tight as you'd like or as loose as you would like. And on this one I did go ahead and add a leaf. So to make this particular one, you're going to need the large flower from the large set, and then the medium large flower. And I have stamped both of these using the Hero Arts Ombre ink, and I'm going to use my Martha Stewart pigment inks just to add some color to the edges of both sides of this particular flower. Now, in order to make the center pretty dramatic, I am adding some pink there so that when you look down into the inside of the flower, you'll get a different look. For the shaping part of this, I am using a tool that most of us have in our households. And mine, I have to admit, my hair has not been short enough to use this Chi curling iron in quite some time. I do like this curling iron because the temperature setting goes all the way up to 400, and my hair is very thick, very coarse, and very wiry, so if I want to get a straight, sleek look, I have to put a lot of heat to it, but of course that causes heat damage. So I don't do that as much anymore. I wear my hair as natural as I can. But in order to get these smooth edges on here, I am going to use my curling iron to curl my flower. And I'm just giving them a slight turn so that I don't get a bend in the curl. Now, if you have some of the old crimping irons that used to be really popular in the 80s, you can use those to crinkle your flowers. And because I did use the pigment ink, I am going to go back with a wet wipe and clean the ink off of the curling iron. Just in case I want to chop all my hair off again so that it's short enough that I could actually use these irons. In order to help these buds get as tight of a shape as possible, I'm going to use these little cups from Susan of Susan's Garden when she was with Sizzix, and I'm just putting both of those in there and giving them a little spritz of water, and the cup shape is going to help my flower bud mold into a more circular shape. I didn't use the styling tip because that would have put a crease or a bend in my flower, and I didn't want that. I wanted it to be very smooth. Now on the inside of here, I did put a little stamen there, and I used this little punch from McGill, and it is the crystal that works with their flower set. I have to admit, this punch is a little difficult to use. The area under the thumb is not the most comfortable. I'm thinking I may need to cut a piece of felt to put it there because it hurts. when you punch it out. But I do like what I get. Now that I have these punched out, I'm going to go ahead and take them over to my mat, and using one of my smallest stylus tips, I'm going to press that into the center and get them to become as tight as possible. Now, one thing I learned in my flower making class is if you fold that black mat and press into it, that gives you more pressure that you can put on there and get a deeper indentation into your flowers. So that's what I'm doing now, to see if I can make that stamen just a tad bit tighter. And in order to give it a little bit of staying power, I am gluing together 2 of these. You could do 3, 4, or even 5. It just makes it for a more lively stamen, for lack of a better word. And I went ahead and put together 2 of these. I'm only going to use 1 on this flower bud. So the ones in the cup should be close to being dry. I want to bring those back and start to glue those together. And I curled this so that the stamped image, the best one, shows on the outside, and then the one that I stamped when I turned it over is the one that's on the inside. So no matter how you look at it, you're going to get to see some of the veining on the stamped image. Again, you can put some glue on the tips of the stamens, dip them into some Flower Soft or some of the pollen that's out on the market, and you can actually get the real look of a flower. But for the purposes of this demonstration, I did not do that. Now I want to go in and press on it just a little bit to cup it down. Now I've got a nice little bud there that I can add to a bouquet if that's what I am doing. If I'm doing a mixed media canvas, and I can just glue those straight there. And now to add in my stamen. And for this one, I realized I needed to get some tweezers and then use the stylus tip to help to hold it in place. Once the glue grabs it, I need to hold it so that I can get a tight bond. And pressing down with the stylus tip will achieve that for me. And there it is. You can make it as tight or as loose as you would like for it to be. If you're going to tighten it up really tightly, I would say put a little glue on a couple of the petals, and that'll close that bud up. And that completes flower number 6. As always, thank you for joining me in the lab today. Please be sure to check out my blog at inkallusions.blogspot.com. Until then,